Hello and welcome to your self-portrait, like laying in the skin tone and nose for sure. I'm gonna get that part done. But the first thing I want to point out is that you should erase your grid with the gray kneaded eraser. So I can still kind of see my grid even though I was being like so gentle. So you're gonna want to like clean up everywhere you can. I mean, the face is gonna get layers on top of it. So like up here where I have that whole area where I erase the lines, and I'm going to go back with the whole kneaded eraser. I don't want to press very hard because I am kind of messing up the paper. And that's also why we're going to do mark making in the back. So areas that are really light in value, like her watch is pretty white. So I don't really have to do anything there. If I can see the grid lines a little bit, it's okay. For the really dark parts of the hair, we're going to double check the grid before we start. So you take some time, like in the small areas, pinch your kneaded eraser, make it pointy, like I kind of cleaned up like the inside of the eye, the little guidelines. If your lines are fairly light in value, like here I pressed a little bit too hard, I'm going to tap my kneaded eraser and take away some of that charcoal to where it's not as bright white. And then that will help get rid of outlines. For your image, I would take off the grid, and now you have a grid that fits a full page of something. Some of you might use this for the painting. So I would try to keep the tape because this is all the tape that you have. In case you want to do your own sketch for the painting, or you find an image that you like are going to use for the main part, but you're going to change some stuff and you're going to print for yourself. So keep that grid in your folder just in case. All right, so before I start, I'm going to put newspaper padding. So I have my whole pad of newspaper. I'm going to put it in the location I'm going to work on. So it's like her whole face. Let's flip that paper up. Okay. All right, so looking at the lightest parts, I mean, she has pretty light skin. I'm looking at like how this part's slightly lighter than this part over here. So I'm definitely gonna start on here and then fade over. Here I would kind of build up another layer. She doesn't have a whole lot of range of value except for like over here. So remember when I said like, you're gonna need range of value. And then if you just didn't do that, you're gonna look a little flat. Okay, so I'm gonna start, I feel like down here is a little bit more difficult, so I'm gonna start up on her forehead. And so I'm holding the pencil on the side, I am getting a clean edge. Holding the pencil like in the middle or towards the end. Go around her eyebrow a little bit. And so remember, the first layer is the most important layer. I'm going to start fading out because this side is slightly darker. And so I want that to kind of happen in my shading. Okay, so I don't want to, she does have little hairs here, so I'm going to kind of go jaggedy along that part and then it smooths out. So if you can see skin coming into your eyebrows, put that in there. Okay, so then I'm going to do a thin layer going the opposite direction to kind of fill in, and I'm going to go a little bit lighter over here. Or if you have a large area that's light in value, then you're going to want to use your chunk. And then I can smooth the rest of that out with the charcoal pencil. All right, I am going to go down into the nose to show you guys how to lay that part on there. So the one thing I look at is what value is the top of the nose, what value is the side of the nose, and what does the bottom part of the nose look like? And then of course I analyze the nostrils kind of separately. So I did value map here, and then I have that part here too. So I'm going to kind of avoid where the value map is. But I am taking a look, the fact that like this part of the top of the nose is slightly lighter than this part of the eyelid. So you need to kind of compare, and then when you're laying value down on the side of the face that's next to this, so let's say all on this edge for her is lighter. So I'm gonna fade in my outline, get rid of it. Okay, so she definitely has some darker value on the bottom of the nose, so I'm gonna kind of avoid that. It's lighter on the side of this nostril. And kind of fades over. It's lighter on top of the nostril here. So I'm just gonna fade down. Obviously the skin is lighter than the opening, but I look at the opening of her nostril where it looks like a little bean, and then how it's like darker right next to that part. So, not pressing very hard, but I am gently kind of outlining to create a clean edge. Okay, here I'm going to barely press any, because this is like in the shadow part inside of her nose. Like that part comes up. And then I'll do some kneaded eraser. So I still think this nostril looks really big, so I'm going to bring that in, barely touching. And I can always bring it in a little bit when blending. All right, so then looking at the top of the nose, and I look at how her highlight is a little bit wider, it like connects to the eyebrow, and then it becomes thinner over here. So I'm gonna avoid this medium value part. And I'm gonna kind of fade out to the eyebrow a little bit sooner. Because then when I blend, I'm gonna fade it up into her eyebrow because she has that fading effect. Some. And I'm gonna fade out. And I'm gonna go like right up to the edge of my value map, but I'm not pressing very hard. Okay, so here, there's like a darker area like around the nostril here, so I'm gonna kind of go around that, and then she has like a little septum piece, has a little bit of a highlight on it, and that outline. Okay, so then right below her nose, it becomes much lighter. So I'm gonna do a little bit more pressure, and that kind of like fades into that highlight, connects. So you want to kind of look at how things connect or not. It's the highlight around the shadow part. Fade that part down. And she has like a shadow. Huh, I never drew that in there. I should have. Okay. So this is like a darker mid-tone here. I'm gonna leave it the black of the paper for now, and then when I blend, I'm just gonna blend over it to create that dark mid-tone. Okay, so I'm gonna fade this down. All right, then I'm kind of looking at so she has a little bit of a cast shadow from her nose, and I have that kind of outlined. And that kind of sinks in. Okay, so I'm looking at how it's really bright around that cast shadow. Fades out. And then using my value map, kind of fades up a little. Another layer around the nose. I'm going to bring some value over, and then I'm looking more closely. Okay, like the tip of her nose has like a highlight. Then I'm going to have to build up a little bit, but I might as well put it on there. Okay, so then I'm looking at how this lighter skin kind of curves by the eye and curves up into the eyebrow. Slightly darker value right there. Okay, so remember it's really shapy. So I have like the highlight, I have that slight mid-tone on the side of her nose, and then I looked at how the tip of the nose is slightly darker. So I kind of only added a little bit, and we'll probably have to build up the top of her nose anyway. So I would I like to kind of lay everything on there. So I would like lay in the value like around here, the value around the eyes, like going around like where the lashes are. And so I did do a practice for eyelashes just to make sure it was going to work before I showed you guys. We are going to use Sharpie to like, if you have lashes like hers, or even longer, we're going to use Sharpie for that. But you're like the lash line, you're still going to want to avoid, or like this little cat eye thing that she has, or makeup, you're still going to want to avoid it. But while you're shading away, then just pay really close attention. You're taking it piece by piece. So I'm looking at like, okay, well, how light is that little corner compared to like over here? Or how light is that little corner compared to here? Or whatever's next to it. I'm looking at how she has like a darker scoop there, but it's lighter in the inside. So this crease I outlined on both sides, so I'm going to kind of go around it, and I'm going to leave it a little bit bigger. Actually, it kind of fades up, but right underneath. Okay, but then she has that darker scoop right here. So I'm just going to kind of leave that. I'm going to fade into what I have. Okay. So for blending, and then I would lay in everything and then I would go back and blend. Anyway, so for blending, a lot of your feedback was start out with the medium blender and then go back with the larger blender. So circular motion, and actually we should have something underneath the hand. Now that I'm like actually getting close to this drawing. Hold on, sorry, my piece is on the other table. Hold on. Okay, so we have this strip of newsprint, so I'm going to kind of cover so that my arm, my sleeve, is not messing up all that you spent time drawing. Okay, so I'm going to try to get a clean edge, go over the outline. So I want to do some smaller circles to kind of work it into the paper, but I'm trying not to press very hard. So I'm trying to hold the blender in the middle, or you can try to hold it at the end. But you want to use the whole side of it. So I'm using like the whole side of it instead of just the tip of it. And remember, like, this is not the first time or the last time. This is the first time. It's not the last time that you're really going to be blending this. Like, I'm going to have to go back and make another layer because now I'm looking like comparing those values. Okay, so that side is a little bit dark. But you want to kind of work the first layer into the paper to see how much more you're gonna need. So I would definitely go back over that. Okay, so then after I blend with the medium blender, then I would come back with the bigger blender and do some bigger circles. And it still looks kind of liney going this way for me. So I'm gonna go opposite direction. I'm still trying not to press very hard. Okay, so I'd definitely add another layer to that. So go back to medium, and especially on the nose, you want to keep all the shapiness still on there. So get a clean edge, go over the highlight, blend the edge in. So I'm trying to blend the light parts first, just so I don't lose them or blend over them. Okay, then I'm gonna blend this edge. Well, the first layer is the most important layer. Like, take your time, do it right the first time, so that your feedback isn't spend more time blending. And then you're like, oh, I don't want to. You're like, oh, well, I don't really want to look at work that, you didn't take your time on. Okay, so then I would, since this is still fairly like a big area, I'm gonna use the bigger blender, kind of work back over. And then I am gonna blend over this part now, so I can get it to kind of start fading. I'm still being a little careful with my edges. But I am using some bigger circles. And I would, blend everything out. Okay, so in comparing, okay, so this is still a little bit dark, but I also think the tip of the nose needs to be lighter. So I have a little bit of an outline here. I'm gonna try to match it and fade in. Okay, I'm gonna definitely add the little spot, the highlight, and it's kind of fading down. So I am gonna kind of leave the like this bottom part of the nose that's slightly darker. I'm gonna leave it alone. I feel like I did lose some of the cast shadow on the side of the nose. Yep, definitely. So I'm gonna put that back in. I'm gonna draw that back in. Okay, so then I can see the edge of her nostril a little bit. So I'm trying not to outline, because I'm gonna fade that part back in. Then I'll blend over that cast shadow a little bit. Okay, so I'm looking at how okay, this part of the nose is slightly darker, but this highlight part kind of fades out. So now I'm gonna take a closer look, a second look, at how my highlights connect, how far over they go. Like the fact of right here, it's all kind of connects here that I didn't have. Fade it into what's there. Okay, looking a little bit closer so it doesn't get darker to like the edge of the nose here. And the highlight kind of comes down. That highlight fades into the nose. Okay, whole top of the nose needs to be lighter. I'm going to build up my light layers like for little highlight parts above the eyebrows. So I'm kind of messing up my value map a little bit. So if your feedback was like, hey, mess up your value map, you kind of go along the edge and fade it out a little to where like the line doesn't look so harsh anymore. Okay, I'm pulling. Okay, medium blender. Get a clean edge. Okay, so take some time. And I definitely need to do another layer on the forehead, but I wanted to show you guys noses because for a lot of you, it's obviously it's a big part of our faces. Some of you kind of struggled getting rid of your value maps. So I'm trying to kind of keep the shape, but then also kind of fading out at the same time. In some of these small areas, like I'm probably not going to touch that part with the large blender, like in here. I'm going to fade up into that value map area. And I'm still going to have to add another layer, like the highlight on the nose. I feel like I need to add another layer. But I like to kind of get it all and then go back and add a whole nother layer on all the parts that you need to. That way, like one area doesn't look different than another. So that's why usually I would just do the whole face. But you guys don't probably want to watch like a 40-minute demonstration of me just adding value. So just kind of fade that down to where when I add in, it'll kind of blend in. Okay, so at this point, I would say like, okay, it's good for right now, knowing that I'm still gonna have to probably go, yeah, I'm definitely have to go back and add another layer. But I wanna see like how her cheek comes out, you know, like the whites of the eye, and then I can kind of adjust from there. So remember, like I really kind of avoided that part, and I still think I need to, I'm gonna have to erase out some of that, actually. So it comes, I feel like it comes a little further. So I drew it in there with the kneaded eraser. I'm gonna bring back that curve. Okay, and then I'm gonna tap to get rid of the outline that I just drew in there. Bring back some of the dark. That comes pretty close to the crease of the eye. So I'm bringing that shadow back in there. Okay, definitely like right there. Okay, then I'm going to blend over that with the big blender. Not pressing very hard at all. Like I'm holding it in the middle. If you can hold it at the end, hold it at the end. So on a face this big, and for many of you, like if the highlight curves, we'll blend circular, but then go back and like blend in the curves. So you're kind of going with the form of the face. Like if I had a whole highlight along the side, I'd blend along the side to kind of blend it in a little bit. So for her cheek, I'm definitely gonna like, you know, like here, I'm just gonna kind of blend like that as well. All right, so there's noses. And in the next video, I'm gonna show you guys hands. And the side of the face will be done so you can kind of see like, how does it look when transitioning, and I'll touch up the forehead. All right, I will see you in the next video.